This is a time unlike any time in recorded human history. But the mystery is that no one knows how this time will end, because you and I are choosing that outcome right now. And we're doing it in ways that we're only beginning to understand through the new science that tells us that we are not victims of this world. You are not a victim of your world. You don't have to suffer and live in disease and grow old the way that we've believed that science tells us. We don't have to use war to solve our problems. And we're living a time when all of those things come together right now. And what gives you and me the power to participate is the fact, and it is a fact, that this field of energy exists and that every one of you is speaking to this field every day. The question is, do you know what you're saying to the field? Do you know what you're saying? So the question, how much power? How much power do we really have to change our world, to change our lives, to change our bodies? How much power do you believe that we really have? The question that we're really asking is, who are we? Who are we? And this is the great mystery and the controversy in the language of science. Are we simply observers, passive observers in this universe, watching the world go by, or are we powerful creators? As our most cherished religious and spiritual traditions have always said, are we actually powerful creators that have forgotten how to use our power? Well, this is the great question that has been asked by scientists for 400 years. John Wheeler says we could not even imagine a universe that did not contain us, because he says it is the act of us observing the universe that makes the universe as it is. He said it is the act of us observing the world around us. He said that we're part of a universe that is not finished yet. John Wheeler says the universe is incomplete. He says that we are tiny specks, tiny patches of the universe looking at itself and building itself in what he calls a participatory universe. Participatory. I like that word. It means that we are not controlling the universe. We are not imposing our will upon the universe. We are participating, co-creating. The reason that we will probably never find the smallest particle, and the reason that we will probably never find the edge of the universe, is because of what John Wheeler says. He says the act of us searching, the act of the human heart and the human mind looking at the universe, expecting to see something, will always create something for us to see. The act of us looking with the expectation that something is there is an act of creation unto itself. Does that make sense to you? This is important. This is important to you. Think about this. I invite you to think about this. If looking with the expectation that something exists is what creates that something, then what does it mean when you are conditioned to look at your body, to search your body every day or every week, looking for something to be wrong, looking for an abnormality, looking for a lump, looking for a discoloration? You know what I'm talking about, right? I'm not saying don't look. What I'm suggesting is it's your consciousness while you are looking that is important. What happens if you look at your body in the mirror every day and you say, beautiful body? And that is an act of creation. Can you see how that is different than if you look in your body for a lump or something that should not be there. Does that make sense? Very, very powerful, what John Wheeler is saying. This is a scientist saying that consciousness is creating our physical universe. The question is, if feeling and consciousness is creating, what is it that we feel? What do we believe about our world? The new discoveries suggest that the power to change our bodies and to change our world is based in what we call belief. Belief. Our belief of what is real. We live our lives based in what we believe about our world. Would you agree with that? We live our lives based on what we believe about, about ourselves, our world, one another, our limitations, our capabilities. I was trained as a scientist. When I began to understand that we live our lives based upon our beliefs, my question is, where do those beliefs come from? And what I found is that those beliefs come from what other people tell us. The beliefs come from what history tells us, what science tells us, what religion tells us, what our culture, what our family, our friends tell us. That's where our beliefs come from. Would you agree with that? So let me ask a question. What if they're wrong? What if they're wrong? What if you and I are living our lives in the beliefs of other people who are incorrect? What does that mean for us? How powerful do you think a belief really is? How powerful, truly? There's an author. His name was Neville. In the early 20th century. He wrote a book called The Power of Awareness, a beautiful book. And what Neville said was this. He said that our power of belief is a power, an infinite power against which no earthly force is of the slightest significance. Our power of belief is an infinite power against which no earthly force is of the slightest significance. Do you believe that you have a power within you against which no earthly force is of the slightest significance? Is that possible? Do you believe that? Let me show you some examples. Let me share some examples of miracles. You've all heard these stories before. You've heard stories of miracles. This is a story of a woman who lifted a car 20 times her body weight to free a person who was trapped underneath the car in an accident. You've heard stories like this. She freed this person. She went to the hospital with this person. She waited in the waiting room. The doctor came out and said, "This man will live because you lifted the car and saved his life." And when she heard the words that described what she did, she passed out. Unconscious. Because she had done something that even she couldn't believe. She wasn't thinking about it. All she said, "I just knew I had to get him free, and there was no one else around at the time." How many in this room are fire walkers? Fire walkers. Do you walk the fire pit? Okay, a few. On June 15th, 2005, Amanda Dennison, Alberta, Canada, entered the book of world records for the longest fire walk. Look at this walk. She crossed this pit, 220 feet long, averaging 1,700 degrees Fahrenheit. She crossed this uninjured. This is a picture of Amanda walking through the coals. This is a picture of Amanda after the walk. And the question, she has no injuries. The question is why? Why no injuries? It's because of her beliefs. The woman lifted the car 20 times her body weight because of her beliefs. Amanda walked through the fire because of her beliefs. These are examples we see every day of a power within us. But they're rare examples. What if they become everyday examples? Miracles of belief. We ask the question, who are we? What we know is that we're made of quantum energy. You all have heard that we are quantum energy, yes? Consciousness is what holds these particles together. Consciousness organizes the particles into your body and into this world. 1944, the father of quantum theory, his name was Max Planck. Max Planck made this statement. He said, the stuff of our world does not exist the way we think it exists. Max Planck said, as a man who has devoted his whole life to the most clear-headed science, to the study of matter, I can tell you as a result of my research about the atoms this much. Okay? There is no matter as such. What he's saying is the stuff that we're made of does not exist the way we believe it exists. He goes on to say that what we think is matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force. He said there's a force out there that holds everything together in our bodies and in our world. He said we must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious mind, an intelligent mind. He said this mind is the matrix of all matter. This mind is the matrix of all matter. If you saw the movie The Matrix, this is where the movie was based from. This information. The father of quantum theory, Max Planck, said that there is an energy, a field of energy that holds everything together, that this is not solid and we are not solid. Belief is the code that takes that field of energy, possibilities, and translates that field into the reality of this world. Belief is the code that translates possibilities into the reality of this world. Here's what scientists say to us about the way this world works. Scientists are telling us now that in this field, all possibilities already exist in the quantum energy, in the soup of quantum possibility. All possibilities already exist. In the quantum possibilities, you are already healed. Peace has already happened. Joy is already everywhere. All of the greatest suffering, all of the greatest peace already exists in the quantum possibilities. And here's what they say happens with you and me. That with our mind, we reach in to those possibilities. We imagine our healing. We imagine the peace. We imagine our perfect relationship. We imagine the abundance in our lives with our mind. And that's how we lock that possibility into place. And with our heart, we give that possibility life. We breathe life into the image of our mind through the feeling in our heart and make it real in our world. I'm going to share with you the science of how this happens. We have to understand what a belief is. We talk about belief. What is a belief? Belief is the marriage. It is a union of thought and emotion.